Some days we just need a little garden therapy. So in this video, we're going to just walk around, look at some flowers, look for volunteers, feed my hens some garden treats. I do need to say, I've mentioned before on my channel about my father with Parkinsonism and my father-in-law, and we lost both of them within the span of 1 week. My father-in-law died first and of cancer, and then my dad died from Parkinsonism. So it's been a really hard summer. Both of them were very frail and doing unwell for a while now. My father-in-law passed in a matter of like 4 months. It took my dad a really long time, and it was really hard to see him suffering for so long. Both of them were gardeners at Spirit, and it's something that I shared with them. So what a better thing to remember them by than by walking around the garden. And even if it's not the loss of a loved one, if it's stress or anxiety, gardening can be so therapeutic. So hopefully it's a hobby or a passion that you will find resonates with you. Let's take a look around and soothe our souls. So some fruit flies got to my red currants. Therefore, I'm feeding them to my chickens, and I'm also gathering some oregano because that's really good for them. So the chickens are going to get a little extra protein in those currants, and I don't feel as bad about not putting out fruit fly traps. And I usually do, and I spaced. So the fruit is ruined for me, but I at least can give it to my hens, and they will make me feel like I kind of recouped my loss there. Get it? Recouped. Anyway, these are going to go to the hens. I'm going to go pick them some sage as well. The lemon balm has gone to flower and seed. It looked beautiful before, but this is like the natural life cycle. This does this every year. I'm going to go ahead and grab some lemon balm for my hens as well. I don't want the woody bits. I want it to be kind of small pieces so it's easy for them to eat. Oh man, it smells good. Even though it's spent, it smells really good. So I always intend on like doing a really nice harvest of the leaves and then saving it for later, but I have this so abundant in other areas that I basically don't have to do that. You can see it's already dropped its seeds. So I get lots and lots of volunteers, and then I think I'll try selling and gifting out a lot of babies next year again, because I did that several years ago, and a lot of people are saying how nice their plants look. So this is a really well established patch of my lemon balm. I have like 2 giant clusters here, and I like to give my chickens herbs, and I call it herb chicken. So they get oregano, lemon balm, sage. Sometimes I give them some lavender or rosemary. They get lots of things like dandelion, and this is just a little, it's a little boost. It's actually a natural dewormer. I've never seen them have an issue. Maybe this is why. I give them fresh herbs. And I always check before giving them herbs the first time. I check online to make sure that it's safe. And you should always do that too. Do lots of checking to make sure everything you're giving your flock is healthy if you have one. Wow, this smells so good. So my shirt now smells like oregano and lemon balm. It's lovely. Oregano growing wild everywhere. So I'm not really worried about giving them what we want. This looks a little bit less mature, which is going to taste better for us anyway. And one thing I've found is that oregano has a stronger smell like a day after you pick it, and when you're drying it, even after I've frozen it. So when you first pick it, I remember thinking, oh, this is not very good oregano. But I'm not sure what it is about it. Maybe you can post in the comments below if you know why. But the smell, the scent, and the flavor comes out a lot stronger after you've picked it for some reason. Like a little while after you picked it. So one time I had a whole bed of oregano, and I ripped up the whole thing, bagged it up for my chickens. Like, I gave them a bunch, and I bagged it up for the later, just put it in the freezer. And then I kind of regretted it later when I realized how amazing it smelled. So just to keep that in mind, that when you first pick oregano, it doesn't come out as strong as if you let it like dry, or even if you freeze it. And I can pick them the green leaves, but I know these are gonna just drop, so I picked them the yellow leaves. And this does stay evergreen even in the wintertime. There's one of my first videos that I did on YouTube, one of their very first ones, like that month. My mom asked me to get her some sage because she wanted it for the turkey dressing for Thanksgiving. And all I did was come outside and pick a bunch, and it looked as good as it does right now. You're always going to have, in late summer, you're going to get some yellow leaves. Actually, what I could do is I could like do a bunch of cuttings. And if I do cuttings, I just remove the lower leaves, use those lower leaves, and then propagate the whole stem, and you get a new plant. So I might do that since this is getting so big. It's actually protruding out into the walkway, like by this far. So I could do a nice healthy set of cuttings from here, and it will just bounce back with new growth. I did a lot of cuttings from the top where I just did a big harvest, and when I did that, it produced a lot more fresh new growth when I did that. So it like really invigorated it and like told it, hey, I need to produce more. I have been really terrible about collecting seed. You can see that like these are the seed heads, or the stem where the flowers were. I should have sage popping up everywhere, and I don't. So when I plant sage from seed, I put it in like a Tupperware type container. It doesn't have to be Tupperware. It could be fast food containers. And I'll sew it and put the dome on it and like have it like nice and misted, and keep it moist and warm until they germinate. And that way you have a lot higher germination rate. Lot more success that way. So that's one of my tricks with growing herbs, is to grow them in a container that has a lid that can hold in that moisture, because once they dry, those little baby plants die so quickly. But I'm going to, since I really love this plant, I'm going to be propagating it from cuttings. This plant has been growing here for, it's older than my son, my youngest child. So it's got to be like a dozen years old, at least 12 or so. And it also drops its own seeds, and it grows from the base in there. Under here where there's no light, it doesn't look great. That's normal. And then the top growth is nice and green and lush. So I'm giving my hens some sage. Oh, and it smells totally incredible. They haven't had herbs in a while, so they're going to appreciate this. But I can tell you right now, they're going to go for the currants faster than anything. It's like they think of them as like little fish eggs or something, packed with nutrients and protein with those larvae. I'm going to have to do some cuttings from this grapevine because I can barely walk through here. It's really growing out. So I'm going to do a lot of cuttings and propagate this grape. You see it's growing well over my dilapidated greenhouse. It's actually growing through it in some places. So yeah, I'm going to do lots of cuttings from here, but not right now. I'm also going to do a lot of cuttings from this fig tree. I keep showing this one because I love it. It's totally full of fruit, and I don't see any ripe today, but I really have to check back every day because I missed one that was so huge. It split, and I ended up having to give it to the hens because it looked a little icky, but not rotten, but it just didn't look yummy after it split and fell down and got dirt on it. So I gave to the hens and they went totally berserk. They loved it. So this tree here, I'm going to do lots of cuttings and I'm going to get a lot of new free trees out of it. This is brown turkey fig. Look at this branch, loaded. Love it, love it, love it. And I actually think it's worth growing it just for the foliage. So even my fig trees that aren't producing yet, I think that leaf pattern is just really adorable. It looks kind of like a, I don't know, like a oak leaf or something. Isn't that beautiful? I'm not sure what it is about the foliage, but I do like plants that have some kind of aesthetic to them, but I prefer them to actually produce some kind of crop for me. So it should be beautiful and also edible. Love it. These are blackberries, but you know what I'm going to do before I pull these out? We're going to harvest those blackberries, and you know we're going to eat them. So I'm not going to let it go to waste. They've been pulling nutrients out of my soil, so they're going to give it back. I'm going to do a nice harvest on these black raspberries. So whatever I do is like I'll harvest the fruit and then I'll cut back that cane, and at some point eventually this whole thing will be gone, but not before it yields me a nice crop. This is an invasive blackberry and you do not want it growing. It will take over your whole property. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make something good out of something bad. So I'm definitely going to get fruit out of this. And I mean, I have the thornless, non-invasive variety of blackberries, and they're pretty good, and they actually have huge fruit on them. They're just giant, like the size of a quarter, all the way around. But this here, and this fruit here is smaller, but honestly, I think it kind of tastes better. But you know, whatever. We're gonna eat the blackberries and then we'll cut it back. So if you have blackberries, I mean, it will grow a little bit more during that time period. And any canes that don't have blackberries, we're gonna cut back because we don't want this here. We want this to be like a patio. But this grew really fast. This was a matter of like 2 years. This whole area just popped up. We didn't have any blackberries growing here 2 years ago, and this is what can happen in 2 years of neglect. So, but you know, neglect sometimes leads to a harvest. We're gonna make use out of it. Do you guys have any free crops that are technically weeds that you like to harvest? It's like there's the good and the bad with everything, right? So this is the bad. It looks terrible. I hate it. I can't walk over here. It's thorny, and you know, critters could hide underneath there, which is good and bad. I mean, it depends on what kind of critters you have living under there. But I'm definitely going to cut this back after we get a harvest out of it. So judge me not. I'm doing it anyway. I'm actually really excited that this is a volunteer. This is a Cardon. I know you're probably going to think it's an artichoke, but it's a Cardon. And the reason I know that is because I was growing Cardon in a tote last year. It was on its second year, so it's biennial, and it went to flower, which is absolutely gorgeous. The bumblebees loved those flowers. I actually thought there were bumblebees that died in it, but they were actually taking a nap, and the flowers were so soft and fluffy. It was like they were on their Sealy Posturpedic. And I did a bad thing. I collected seeds and then I left them out to dry, and then it rained. And so those seeds got ruined, and I thought, oh no, I lost that plant. I lost that genetics. It was so good. But guess what? It propagated itself. So early next spring, I will transplant that into a larger tote because it's now just in a pot. And then it will be in all of its glory and splendor, and you'll get to see videos of the flowers and the bumblebees again. So we didn't have any Cardon flowering this year because it is a biennial. It flowers in its second year. And I don't really use it. I don't blanch the stems like you can blanch the stems and eat them. They're very thorny. They've got these tiny little hairs. You can't really see them until you touch them, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's so painful. But they're beautiful, beautiful, beautiful plants, and I love them for the pollinators. So I am so, so thrilled to found this volunteer. I don't have a tripod. I can't show me feeding them, but these are my hens, and they love to tear up the ground. Doesn't matter how many times you make the ground nice and Even they love to dust bathe. So they're always making their own little tunnels on the ground. We keep filling them in so they have something to do. And they love oats. These are my little girls who love some oats. And they love currants and herbs. They also love dandelion greens and dandelion flowers. They go nuts over those. So these are my pretty girls. Good girls. That's them looking for currants. Oh, they're so excited. They love the currants. Oh, they're so funny. They love the currants. The thing is, I can't get my hand in really fast because they'll jump at my hand. They get so excited. Where are you? They are so happy. I mean, there's nothing compared to backyard hens. Their coop looks crazy because it was all upcycled materials. So it's not as pretty as some of the ones you see online because people have like all that fancy stuff. But these girls get all the treats. They just love it. Love it. Look how she's got like a green sheen. She's definitely the queen of this coop. Actually, no. She's the queen of the coop. She's the queen of the coop. And then that one's the princess of the coop. And these are their ladies in waiting. Aren't they pretty girls? I don't know how some people let their hens free range in their gardens. Like, that's kind of a terrible idea. Look at the ground in there. They will tear up your ground. Now, if you only let them out there for like a day, but they will eat everything good that you have. Just rip it up. That girl. Hello. You're perching? Look at you perching on your food. My husband did this makeshift thing where you can like pour the food in the top and then it goes down. Gravity fed. It works pretty nice. She wants to use it as a perch. Hey, baby. You're so pretty. These are old girls. We got them in 2020, so they're already 4 years old. 4.5, I guess. So they give us a lot of eggs, but not recently. So we might need to adjust their feed. But it could also be their age. So early in the spring, in the beginning of summer, they were giving lots of eggs. But recently they were like, nah, another time. They are so happy. My neighbor said that she has no problem. She's like, do you have chickens anymore? And I was like, yeah. Why do you ask? And she said, I never hear them and there's absolutely no smell. So I know it doesn't look pretty because they scratch and they tear up all the ground. So like we like refill it because they dig caves. And it's so cute because on a hot day they sit inside their little cave that they make. Oh, I'm jumping. You guys are scaring me. What was that sound? But they love to eat. Well, a lot of weeds, you have to be careful. You want to make sure that you're not feeding them something that's dangerous for them. Don't give them any alliums, no onions, that kind of stuff. That's really bad. But they just go crazy. Like, they have the best food here. They get their hen layer food. They also get cracked corn, oats. I can't afford the mealworms. I did that before. It was like $40 for a bag, and it's like light, so light, but they love those. So whatever I do is the currants, whenever they get like wormy, I give those to them. They absolutely love it. They love the oatmeal. But honestly, they love the attention. They love the flowers, the dandelion flowers, and that's free. So we never spray our weeds. I try to run out before anybody mows the lawn and give them. They get clover and they get grass, but I'm kind of neurotic about it because I've heard of some hens getting impacted crop by having grass that winds around inside of their gizzard or something. Like, I'm not a chicken anatomy expert, but I don't want to have an impacted crop for the girls. So if I either give them short grass, like when it's new green, it's soft and easy for them to eat, or if I'm picking longer grass, I always choose the softest grass I can find, and the thing I give the hens is a little bit of grit, and I just sprinkle it in their coop, and that's because they actually, for digestion purposes, they have to have grit in their gut in order to digest all their food. So this is grit, and also give them oyster shell for the calcium. So they'll get a little bit of this today, and it's their choice if they want it or not. They'll just ignore it if they don't want it, and they'll take it if they want it. So it's there if they need it. Judge me, but they like these oats, and I just give them a couple of handfuls, and I don't give it to them every day, but they really love it. They'll get this layer pellet. That's their base feed. Everything else is for fun. And they are omnivores, so they like a lot of variation in their diets. So when you see chicken where it says, like you're buying it from the grocery store and it says vegetarian fed, that doesn't make any sense, because chicken, they are not vegetarians. Omnivores, they like to eat insects. They'll even eat mice if they can get their hands on it. Their hands. If they can get a hold of, small animals, very small animals, insects, whatever, they'll go for them. Don't feed your chickens slugs, because that can give them gape worm. It's a parasite that can kill your hens. So don't feed slugs to your hens, but larvae. Like if I find a larva, moth larva in my garden, I feed it to them. They love it. Absolutely love it. There will be better years. There will be better days. Just gotta persevere through everything that hurts, and you're gonna get through it. I'm gonna get through it. Time doesn't heal everything. It doesn't make everything better, but it does get better, and I know it will. So take off my glasses, keep fogging them up. It's unreasonable to think that you're going to walk around the garden and then suddenly have no pain, but it actually helps more than talking about it. So just walking around and seeing life, seeing things growing, seeing an animal enjoy food, seeing some plants that have propagated themselves and some flowers that are blooming, it made me feel better. So if you want to grow a garden, it might make you feel better too. Hopefully you enjoy gardening and it can be therapeutic for you. They have that joke about gardening. It's gardening, free therapy plus free tomatoes. So gardening is very therapeutic. I hope that you are enjoying your garden. If you want to pop a comment below, what plants do you find, or what aspects of your garden do you particularly find to be therapeutic? Beautiful people, thank you for staying with me through the end of the video. God bless you and keep you in His good graces and favor. May you have joy and peace, and we're all going to have tragedy and loss in our lives, sometimes more than others, but we'll get through, we'll persevere, and this is our temporary home, right? Earth is our temporary home. Our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is always with us. Amen. And be good, be sweet. Grow a garden if you want to eat. I'll see you next time.